The Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for centuries, their dominion unchallenged. Spanning thousands of star systems, their fleets were the embodiment of power and technological supremacy. To them, Earth was nothing more than a backwater planet, a speck of dust in the vastness of their empire. They laughed at humanity's attempts to defend itself, dismissing their prototypes as crude and primitive. The Empire's arrogance was boundless, their belief in their own invincibility unshakable. They saw no threat in Earth's desperate efforts to survive, no reason to fear a species they considered inferior. Earth, on the other hand, was a planet on the brink. Resources were scarce, and the constant threat of imperial incursions loomed over every decision. Yet, humanity refused to give up. In hidden labs and secret facilities, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, fueled by a determination to protect their home. Their prototypes were born of necessity, each one a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. But to the Empire, they were little more than toys, unworthy of serious consideration. An imperial envoy once visited Earth, inspecting their so-called defenses with a smirk. "Primitive," he had said, his voice dripping with contempt. "Your efforts are amusing, but ultimately futile. The Galactic Empire does not fear your toys." The Empire's mockery only strengthened humanity's resolve. They knew they couldn't match the Empire's numbers or resources, but they believed in their ability to innovate, to think differently. The Eclipse was a culmination of their efforts, a ship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was sleek, almost invisible to sensors, and equipped with experimental technology that pushed the boundaries of what was possible. But even as the Eclipse neared completion, doubt lingered. Could one ship, no matter how advanced, stand against the might of the Galactic Empire? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. A massive Imperial fleet arrived in Earth orbit, their intentions clear. They had come to crush humanity once and for all, to erase any hope of resistance. The Empire's commander, a seasoned veteran of countless campaigns, issued a chilling ultimatum: surrender or face annihilation. Earth's leaders knew they had no choice. They couldn't surrender, not after everything they had fought for. And so, with a mixture of fear and determination, they made a decision to deploy the Eclipse. It was a desperate move, a last-ditch effort to defend their home. As the ship launched into the void, its crew knew the odds were against them, but they also knew they had to try. The fate of Earth depended on it. The Imperial fleet loomed in the distance, a formidable array of warships bristling with weapons. To the Empire, the Eclipse was nothing more than a curiosity, a final act of defiance from a doomed species. They didn't see the determination in the eyes of its crew, the quiet confidence of those who had nothing left to lose. As the Eclipse approached, the Empire's commander gave the order to destroy it. "Let this be a lesson to all who dare oppose us," he said, his voice cold and unyielding. But as the first volley of Imperial fire streaked toward the Eclipse, something unexpected happened. The ship moved with impossible speed, dodging the attacks with ease. The Empire's sensors struggled to track it, their systems overwhelmed by its advanced stealth technology. For the first time, doubt crept into the minds of the Imperial commanders. What was this ship, and why couldn't they destroy it? The Eclipse's crew worked with precision, their movements guided by an AI that seemed almost prescient. They knew they couldn't afford to make a single mistake. Every second counted. Every decision could mean the difference between victory and annihilation. As the Empire's fleet closed in, the Eclipse prepared to strike. Its weapons, a blend of human ingenuity and cutting-edge technology, hummed with power. The crew exchanged a final glance, a silent acknowledgement of the stakes. Then, with a surge of energy, the Eclipse unleashed its first attack. A beam of light lanced through the void, striking an Imperial cruiser with devastating force. The ship's shield buckled, then failed, leaving it vulnerable to the Eclipse's follow-up strike. In moments, the cruiser was reduced to debris, its crew lost in the cold vacuum of space. The Empire's fleet reeled from the sudden loss, their confidence shaken. They had expected an easy victory, a swift end to Earth's defiance. Instead, they found themselves facing a ship that defied their understanding, a ship that seemed to anticipate their every move. The Eclipse moved like a shadow, striking with precision and disappearing before the Empire could retaliate. Its crew fought with a determination born of desperation. their every action fueled by the knowledge that they were Earth's last hope. As the battle raged on, the Empire's commanders began to realize the gravity of their mistake. They had underestimated humanity, dismissed their potential as nothing more than a fleeting annoyance. Now they were paying the price. The Eclipse's crew, meanwhile, felt a growing sense of hope. They had known the odds were against them, but they had also believed in their ship, in the technology that had been born of humanity's struggle. As they watched another Imperial ship fall to their weapons, they allowed themselves to believe that victory might be possible. The Empire's fleet was vast, but the Eclipse was unlike anything they had ever faced. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience, a testament to their ability to rise above adversity. And as the battle continued, the crew of the Eclipse knew they were fighting not just for Earth, but for the future of their species. They would not falter, not while there was still a chance to win. The Galactic Empire had laughed at Earth's prototypes, but now they were learning the cost of their arrogance. The Eclipse was more than a ship. It was a declaration, a promise that humanity would not be silenced. And as the battle raged on, that promise grew stronger with every passing moment. The Eclipse moved like a phantom through the chaos of battle, its sleek form barely registering on the Empire's sensors. The Imperial fleet, once a symbol of invincibility, now found itself on the defensive. Their commanders barked orders, their voices tinged with frustration and disbelief. How could a single ship, a product of what they had dismissed as a primitive civilization, be causing so much destruction? The Eclipse's stealth technology was unlike anything the Empire had encountered. It didn't just evade detection. It seemed to manipulate it, creating false signals and phantom echoes that confused the Imperial targeting systems. Every time the Empire thought they had a lock on the ship, it slipped away, only to reappear moments later in a different location, striking with deadly precision. The crew of the Eclipse worked in perfect harmony, their actions guided by the ship's advanced AI. The AI, a marvel of human engineering, processed data at lightning speed, predicting the Empire's movements and calculating the optimal course of action. It wasn't just a tool, it was a partner, a silent ally that gave the crew the edge they needed. As the battle raged on, the AI's voice, calm and steady, provided updates and suggestions, its tone never wavering even as the situation grew more dire. The crew trusted it implicitly, their confidence in its abilities unwavering. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with, a perfect blend of human intuition and machine precision. The Empire, meanwhile, was struggling to adapt. Their tactics, honed over centuries of dominance, were proving ineffective against the Eclipse. They tried to overwhelm the ship with sheer numbers, launching waves of fighters and bombers in an attempt to bring it down. But the Eclipse's point defense systems were more than a match for the swarm, its energy weapons cutting through the attackers with surgical accuracy. The Empire's fighters fell one after another, their pilots unable to comprehend how a single ship could be so formidable. The Eclipse's shields, reinforced by experimental technology, absorbed the few hits that managed to land, leaving the ship unscathed. As the battle wore on, the Empire's frustration turned to desperation. Their flagship, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons, moved to engage the Eclipse directly. The dreadnought's commander, a veteran of countless battles, was determined to end the threat once and for all. "Focus all firepower on that ship," he ordered, his voice sharp with anger. "I don't care what it takes, destroy it." The dreadnought's weapons charged, their energy signatures lighting up the Eclipse's sensors. The crew braced themselves, knowing that this would be the most critical moment of the battle. The AI calculated the odds, its voice calm as ever. Incoming fire detected. Evasive maneuvers recommended. The Eclipse moved with impossible speed, dodging the dreadnought's initial volley. The Empire's weapons, designed to obliterate entire fleets, missed their mark, their energy blast dissipating harmlessly into the void. The dreadnought's commander cursed, his frustration boiling over. "How is this possible?" he shouted, slamming his fist against the console. "Target that ship and fire again." But the Eclipse was already repositioning, its weapons locking onto the dreadnought's weak points. The AI's voice cut through the tension. Target acquired. Firing solution calculated. Recommend immediate engagement. The crew didn't hesitate. With a single command, the Eclipse unleashed its full firepower, its weapons striking the dreadnought with devastating force. The Empire's flagship shuddered under the assault, its shields buckling under the onslaught. Alarms blared on the dreadnought's bridge, its crew scrambling to respond. But it was too late. The Eclipse's final strike pierced the dreadnought's hull, triggering a chain reaction that tore the massive ship apart from within. The explosion lit up the battlefield, a blinding flash of light that marked the end of the Empire's flagship. The loss of their flagship sent shockwaves through the Imperial fleet. Without their command ship, their coordination faltered, their once disciplined formations dissolving into chaos. The Eclipse seized the opportunity, striking at the heart of the fleet with relentless precision. One by one, the Empire's ships fell, their crews unable to mount an effective defense. The battle, once a foregone conclusion in the Empire's eyes, had turned into a rout. The Eclipse's crew, though exhausted, pressed on, their determination unwavering. They knew that every ship they destroyed brought Earth one step closer to safety. As the last of the Imperial ships retreated, the Eclipse stood alone amidst the wreckage of the battlefield. Its hull bore the scars of battle, but it was still intact, a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of its creators. The crew allowed themselves a moment of relief, their tension giving way to a quiet sense of triumph. They had done the impossible. They had faced the might of the Galactic Empire and emerged victorious. But they also knew that this was only the beginning. The Empire would not take this defeat lightly. They would return, stronger and more determined than ever. And when they did, the Eclipse would be ready. The ship's AI, ever vigilant, broke the silence. Enemy fleet has retreated. Damage assessment complete. All systems operational. The crew exchanged glances, their exhaustion tempered by a newfound sense of hope. They had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated, that even in the face of overwhelming odds, they could prevail. The Eclipse was more than a ship. It was a symbol, a beacon of defiance in a galaxy dominated by tyranny. And as they set a course for Earth, the crew knew that their victory was just the first step in a much larger struggle. The Galactic Empire had laughed at Earth's prototypes, but now they had seen what humanity was capable of. And the Eclipse's victory over the Imperial fleet sent ripples through the galaxy. But the battle was far from over. The Empire, humiliated and enraged, regrouped with ferocity born of desperation. They could not afford to let Earth's defiance go unpunished. It would undermine their authority, embolden other oppressed worlds, and shatter the illusion of their invincibility. A new fleet, larger and more heavily armed than the last, was dispatched to Earth. This time, the Empire's commanders were determined to leave nothing to chance. They would crush the Eclipse and erase Earth from the galactic map, no matter the cost. The Eclipse's crew, still recovering from the previous battle, knew what was coming. The ship's AI had detected the incoming fleet long before it entered Earth's system, its sensors picking up the faint energy signatures of the Empire's warships as they approached. The crew had little time to prepare, but they didn't need it. They had faced the Empire once and emerged victorious. They would do so again. The Eclipse's systems were repaired and upgraded, its weapons calibrated for maximum efficiency. The crew, though weary, was ready. They had seen what their ship could do, and they believed in its power. The Empire's fleet arrived in show of overwhelming force, their ships forming a blockade around Earth. Their commander, a ruthless admiral known for his brutality, issued a chilling ultimatum. "Surrender the Eclipse and its crew," he demanded, his voice cold and unyielding, "or we will reduce your planet to ash." Earth's leaders, standing firm, refused. They knew what the Eclipse represented, not just a weapon, but a symbol of hope. To surrender, it would be to surrender their future. The Admiral's response was swift and merciless. The Empire's fleet opened fire, their weapons raining destruction on Earth's surface. The Eclipse launched into action, its sleek form cutting to the chaos like a blade. The crew worked with precision, their movements guided by the ship's AI. The Empire's fleet, though vast, was unprepared for the Eclipse's speed and agility. The ship darted between enemy vessels, its weapons striking with deadly accuracy. The Empire's fighters, sent to overwhelm the Eclipse, were cut down before they could even get within range. The crew's confidence grew with every enemy ship they destroyed, their belief in the Eclipse's capabilities unwavering. But the Empire was not without its own tricks. Their flagship, a monstrous dreadnought bristling with weapons, moved to engage the Eclipse directly. The dreadnought's commander, a cunning strategist, had studied the Eclipse's previous battle and devised a plan to counter its strengths. He ordered his fleet to focus their fire on the Eclipse's predicted trajectory, creating a web of energy blasts that left little room for evasion. For the first time, the Eclipse found itself on the defensive, its shield straining under the relentless assault. The crew, though rattled, refused to panic. The AI, analyzing the situation with cold logic, suggested a risky maneuver, recommend a diversionary tactic. It stated calmly, deploy decoy drones to draw enemy fire. Primary target, enemy flagship. The crew hesitated for only a moment before agreeing. They trusted the AI's judgment, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The Eclipse released a swarm of decoy drones, their energy signatures mimicking the ship's own. The Empire's fleet, unable to distinguish between the drones and the Eclipse, redirected their fire, their weapons tearing through the decoys with devastating force. The Eclipse seized the opportunity, its weapons locking onto the dreadnought's weak points. The crew fired with precision, their attacks striking the dreadnought's shields with enough force to overload them. The dreadnought's commander, realizing the danger, ordered his ship to retreat, but it was too late. The Eclipse's final strike pierced the dreadnought's hull, triggering a chain reaction that tore the massive ship apart. The explosion lit up the battlefield, a blinding flash of light that marked the end of the Empire's flagship. The loss of their flagship sent shockwaves through the Imperial fleet. Without their command ship, their coordination faltered, their once disciplined formations dissolving into chaos. The Eclipse pressed its advantage, striking at the heart of the fleet with relentless precision. One by one, the Empire's ships fell, their crews unable to mount an effective defense. The battle, once a foregone conclusion in the Empire's eyes, had turned into a rout. The Eclipse's crew, though exhausted, pressed on, their determination unwavering. They knew that every ship they destroyed brought Earth one step closer to safety. As the last of the Imperial ships retreated, the Eclipse stood alone amidst the wreckage of the battlefield. Its hull bore the scars of battle, but was still intact, a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of its creators. The crew allowed themselves a moment of relief, their tension giving way to a quiet sense of triumph. They had done the impossible. They had faced the might of the Galactic Empire and emerged victorious. But they also knew that this was only the beginning. The Empire would not take this defeat lightly. They would return, stronger and more determined than ever. And when they did, the Eclipse would be ready. The ship's AI, ever vigilant, broke the silence. Enemy fleet has retreated. Damage assessment complete. All systems operational. The crew exchanged glances, their exhaustion tempered by a newfound sense of hope. They had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated, that even in the face of overwhelming odds, they could prevail. The Eclipse was more than a ship. It was a symbol, a beacon of defiance in a galaxy dominated by tyranny. And as they set a course for Earth, the crew knew that their victory was just the first step in a much larger struggle. The Galactic Empire had laughed at Earth's prototypes, but now they had seen what humanity was capable of, and they would not forget. The news of the Eclipse's victory spread like wildfire across the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire had been humbled, their seemingly invincible fleet reduced to wreckage by a single ship from a planet they had dismissed as insignificant. Earth, once a forgotten backwater, was now the center of attention. Across countless star systems, oppressed civilizations watched with bated breath, daring to hope that the Empire's iron grip could be broken. The Eclipse had become more than a ship. It was a symbol of resistance, a beacon of hope for those who had long suffered under the Empire's tyranny. On Earth, the mood was one of cautious celebration. The planet had been saved, but the cost had been high. Cities lay in ruins, their streets filled with the rubble of Imperial bombardment. Yet, amidst the destruction, there was a sense of pride. Humanity had stood against the might of the Empire and emerged victorious. The Eclipse's return was met with cheers and tears, its crew hailed as heroes. But even as the celebrations began, Earth's leaders knew that their work was far from over. The Empire would not let this defeat go unanswered. They would return, and when they did, Earth needed to be ready. The Eclipse's crew, though exhausted, wasted no time in preparing for the next battle. The ship was repaired and upgraded, its systems fine-tuned based on the data gathered from the previous encounters. The AI, ever vigilant, analyzed every detail of the battles, identifying weaknesses in the Empire's tactics and suggesting improvements to the Eclipse's design. The crew worked tirelessly, their determination fueled by the knowledge that their actions had given humanity a fighting chance. They knew that the Eclipse was not just a weapon, it was a statement, a declaration that humanity would not be silenced. Across the galaxy, other civilizations began to take notice. The Empire's defeat had shaken their confidence, and many saw an opportunity to strike back. Envoys from distant worlds arrived on Earth, offering alliances and sharing their own technologies. The Eclipse became a rallying point, its design and capabilities studied by engineers and scientists from across the stars. Humanity, once isolated and alone, found itself at the center of a growing coalition of resistance. The Empire, for all its power, now faced a galaxy united against it. The Empire, meanwhile, was in turmoil. The loss of 2 fleets had dealt a severe blow to their morale, and their leaders were scrambling to contain the fallout. The admiral who had led the Second Fleet was stripped of his rank, his failure seen as a stain on the Empire's honor. But even as they punished their own, the Empire's leaders knew that they could not afford to ignore the threat posed by Earth. The Eclipse had proven that humanity was capable of the impossible, and the Empire could not allow that knowledge to spread. A new fleet, larger and more powerful than any before, was assembled. This time, there would be no mistakes. Earth would be crushed, and the Eclipse would be destroyed. The Eclipse's crew, aware of the Empire's preparations, knew that the next battle would be their greatest challenge yet, but they also knew that they were not alone. The coalition of resistance had grown stronger, their combined forces a match for the Empire's might. The Eclipse would lead the charge, its advanced technology and fearless crew inspiring those who fought alongside them. The crew, though weary, felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were no longer just defending Earth. They were fighting for the future of the galaxy. As the Empire's fleet approached, the Eclipse moved to intercept. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Eclipse, now supported by ships from a dozen worlds, fought with ferocity that stunned the Empire. The coalition's forces, though outnumbered, fought with a unity and determination that the Empire could not match. The Eclipse's AI, coordinating the battle with flawless precision, turned the tide in their favor. One by one, the Empire's ships fell, their commanders unable to comprehend how their once unstoppable fleet was being dismantled. The final blow came when the Eclipse targeted the Empire's new flagship, a massive dreadnought designed to crush all resistance. The crew, working in perfect harmony with the AI, executed a daring maneuver that left the dreadnought vulnerable. With a single devastating strike, the Eclipse destroyed the flagship, its explosion marking the end of the Empire's dominance. The remaining Imperial ships, their morale shattered, retreated in disarray. The coalition's forces, though battered and bruised, stood victorious. The galaxy would never be the same. The Empire, once a symbol of fear and oppression, was now a shadow of its former self. Earth, once a forgotten planet, had become a beacon of hope. The Eclipse, its hull scarred but unbroken, stood as a testament to the power of unity and determination. The crew, though exhausted, felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had not just defended their home, they had changed the course of history. As the Eclipse returned to Earth, its crew looked to the future with hope. The road ahead would not be easy, but they knew that they had taken the first step toward a brighter tomorrow. The Galactic Empire had laughed at Earth's prototypes, but now they had seen what humanity was capable of, and they would never forget. The Eclipse was more than a ship. It was a symbol of what could be achieved when people dared to dream. And as the galaxy began to rebuild, that symbol would guide them toward a future free from tyranny.